Hey everybody, it's Wednesday. It is time for Snipes and Stripes with me, Tim Peel, right here on nofilter.net. I'm really excited because I'm in Chicago and it's warm and we're still playing golf here in Chicago. Believe it or not, it's crazy. It was 71 degrees. Played Butler yesterday in a hurricane
Oh,
and
Butler.
the hardest golf course in the world. I played it in just windy, crazy conditions, but I played pretty well. I shot 80, which on that golf course in those conditions is pretty good. But Tim Peel, how we doing, my buddy? How you
Good,
doing this
buddy.
week?
I'm good. We're only 4 hours apart, but it's 81 here today. It was 81 yesterday. I was going to play yesterday and I got asked to play today, but we're doing our show. It is windy here as well. And I
Mm.
can only imagine playing Butler and shooting 80. That's pretty impressive because
It
that is
was.
a great golf course.
I played my ass off too. It was really hard, and fortunately the wind was helping on a lot of the holes, but on some of the holes that it was not helping on, they were like driver 3 wood,
Yeah.
pitching wedge, on par fours. It's like what's going on, man? It's crazy. It's crazy. But anyway, thanks to Whiskey in the Wild, my chocolate orange whiskey for sponsorship. Make sure you go to whiskeyinthewild.com, get your whiskey today, and you have Bet Online and your protected neck guards.
Protected net cards, Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. Bet Online is every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on the 200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of over $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online. The game starts here. The game starts here, buddy. We got a lot of goals the last few nights. We had two teams last night that put up an 8 spot. What's going on in the NHL right now with the goaltending?
I think the goaltenders have taken a step backwards. There's no question about it. Oh my goodness. Well, there's some teams that are struggling to score goals, and some teams that just have the knack, right? Sometimes, I mean, we see what Winnipeg's doing right now. Um, Kyle Connor playing so well.
Guys,
New
this,
Jersey starting to fill the net. We got to talk about Heischer and Caulfield. These guys are filling the net, but I don't know what's going on, man. I think it's probably a lot of power plays. There's a lot of penalties going around right now with your goaltenders, or the defense just are terrible, or maybe we're just doing what the NBA just did and said, screw defense, let's just play offense and just have a track meet. But
well,
it's pretty wild.
you know what? I'm looking forward to having our Hall of Fame guest on today, and Mark Recchi, because one of the questions I'm going to ask him, JR, and I don't want you to answer it yet. We'll see what both you guys have to say. Is I don't think we have the level uh, of quality goaltending that we had in the eras that you guys played in with the Brodeurs, the Josephs, the Eddie Belfour, the Hassicks. You could go down the list. There was 8 or 10 studs in the league. I don't think we've got that level of goaltending now. So we'll touch on that later. But I think it's
I don't think we have that level of anything in terms of, yes, we have the superstars are the superstars that are going to go into the Hall of Fame, the Crosbys, the Ovechkins, the McKinnons, the McDavids, maybe the Drysaddles, right? Those the Kucherovs, the Sam Koses. Those guys are going to go in the Hall of Fame. But when you look at it, I mean, you look back, and I've said this to you before, the amount of really high quality stars from 1988 to 2003, let's say,
yeah.
is just immense, both defensive and offensive. And you said goaltenders. Just think across the board, there was just, which is why I think that I'll even say our generation, because you're involved in it, because you were on the ice with us. Our generation was the best generation of all time.
I agree. I agree. Late 90s, early 2000s, it was the best. But speaking about goaltenders, we've given them love the last couple of weeks, but I'd be remiss not to bring it up. Marc-Andre Fleury made I guess it's his last return. I haven't heard officially that he's retiring, but he said it was his last return to Pittsburgh last night, and that was pretty impressive to watch.
Well, I think you know how I feel about Marc-Andre Fleury, and he's one of my favorite, not just goaltenders. He's one of my favorite players that have been around for a long time.
Yeah,
He just exudes happiness. Loves playing the game. You know those big white pearly teeth of his when he starts smiling, and
yeah,
you know he's got that accent when he because of his French accent. He's got that accent, and he speaks he speaks with joy, and he's I think it's contagious. You know, he has that contagious type of mentality that he sends across. Makes you feel good. He loves the game.
he loves the game.
He
Yeah,
loves the game. You can tell. I think the teammates love him. And, you know, I said this before. I don't think that there has been a goaltender that has been disrespected more than Marc Andre Fleury in the last 10 years. I mean, from Pittsburgh letting him go to the expansion draft with Vegas, which I'm sure he didn't dislike, but they just gave up on him. They gave up on him while he was in Pittsburgh and let Matt in there,
Matt
um,
Murray. Matt
Matt
Murray.
Murray, yeah, get in there and take his job. Um, then then in Vegas, they just traded him and let him go. In Chicago, they just let him go. It's been amazing to watch such a popular player just get shipped off so easily and written off so easily. Like, and you know what? He hasn't said anything. Doesn't
No,
say anything.
no,
Doesn't complain.
always takes the high road. I'm laughing. I'm watching the clips last night or yesterday, and they're showing some of the antics that he's done over the last couple of years, and one of them was he was with Pittsburgh. I think it was Brandon Rust. They come out for practice, and they're skating around, and somehow he got somebody to tie up all of Rust's clothes, and they're hanging down over top of the ice with a rope. And Rust is looking, going, "I think those are my clothes." Like, he's the best. I love him. I love him. I feel the exact same way as you do about him. Watching him in Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh last night, I was happy they got the win. He got the first star. Sid and Letang took a picture with him after the game. He is revered, loved by the fans, but loved by Sid and his all his teammates that he's played with in Pittsburgh. And you know what? He's going to be a type of guy. I think he'd be great to get into broadcasting afterwards, JR. I think he would kill it with his personality.
Yeah, I don't know how good his English is. Maybe be an RDS up in
Well,
Montreal.
Paul Bissonnette's English isn't very good either, and he's on TNT. So
That's not because of lack of English. That's just lack of English classes. That's it. That's it. We love Biz. We love Biz. He learned his vocabulary in the locker room. There's no question about that. Yeah, I was tickled. I get it's probably the best word I can use. Just I was very overjoyed watching the standing ovation that he got last night in Pittsburgh, and of course, you know the respect from his ex teammates to take a picture and to say hi to him, um, and I think Pittsburgh could use him right now
yeah,
because they are terrible. They have the most goals against in the National Hockey League, 48 goals against in 11 games. That is absolutely unacceptable. It's actually embarrassing, if you ask me, there to be able to, um, with a team with Sidney Crosby, a team with Malkin, a team with Letang, a team that is as savvy, being, I know they're older, but they're savvy
hmm
to be letting up and playing this bad defensively. I mean, there's no wonder why they're at the bottom of the league right now. And I don't know if it's their goaltending is that bad or the defense is that bad or just as a team they're not being coached well enough. But you know,
Well,
is this I don't it's never been a coaching thing because Mike Sullivan is obviously one of the best in the league.
correct. I don't think it's a coaching issue, and I'm with you. Sully is one of the best in the league and very well respected. I just don't think they're very good on the back end. Carlson's not good defensively. He's an offensive defenseman. Carlson or Latang's an offensive defenseman. You can only have so many of those guys. I don't know. I feel bad for Sid because it's got to be killing him, and they're not very good. And I don't see with the contract that they
Yeah,
gave.
were you surprised that signed again in Pittsburgh?
No, not at all. Not
I
at all.
mean, I mean, I am kind of. I understand why he did, but you look at this team. His team is one of the oldest teams in the league. Does he really think that he was going to go there? They were going to have a winning season with the same guys, pretty much the same guys as last year.
He,
Um, Get now not having Genzel on the team, which is even harder to
right.
win hockey games because he was one of your goal scorers. Um, I is and he missed two. No, they missed two playoffs back to back, or three playoffs back to back. That's unheard of for Pittsburgh. And now it looks like they're going to miss the playoffs again this year. I mean, obviously it's very early. I shouldn't say that because we know they can get on a run. But with an older team like that and with goaltending issues, like I think they do have, I don't think Tristan Jarry is
No,
anywhere near being the goaltender that can change this team around. They got issues.
they do, but I just, you asked me about Sid. I just think they broke the mold when they made him like himself, Iserman, Mario, certain guys that no matter what, they wanted to stay with that team. And I think Sid is so invested in Pittsburgh, the city. Uh, I just don't think it was even, I doubt that it even crossed his mind for him to go anywhere else. And
I, I definitely crossed his mind. There's
he's
no
one of those
question.
few players, though, JR, that I could not imagine seeing in another jersey. I couldn't imagine seeing him. I couldn't imagine seeing Ovechkin in another jersey, and we'll get to him in a second. But it might have crossed. I'm sure you're right. It crossed his mind, but it's just not his makeup. It's not his makeup to bail, and not that he would have bailed, but I don't think it's his makeup to say, you know what, I'm gonna go on to a contender. I don't think it's the way Sid's built.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said about that. There's no question. But by no means are they that bad that they should be at the bottom of the standings. And it makes me sad too because my other team, the Philadelphia Flyers, are just one slot above them. Neither of them's having a good start to the season, which for Pennsylvanians is not a good situation to be in. And by the way, I should reiterate, like I love Sidney, I love Malkin and Letang. I do love these guys, but I don't care if Pittsburgh loses. I'm okay with Pittsburgh losing because I'm a Philly guy, right? I'm supposed to not like
I
Pittsburgh.
know, but
Yeah,
but
but
but the NHL playoffs are better when Sidney Crosby's in the playoffs.
100%.
The NHL playoffs are better
Yep.
when Alexander Ovechkin's in the playoffs.
100%.
Right.
100%. But you're not going to get any love lost from Philly fans, that's for sure.
No, you're not.
Yeah, no.
You know, uh, yeah, Pittsburgh's 3-7. Like, what's that?
3-7-1.
What is
That
it? What's that stat? I think it's 88% or 82%. If you're not in the playoffs by American Thanksgiving, you don't make the playoffs. And it doesn't look like, that's a month from now. Is Pittsburgh going to be in a playoff spot? Probably not. And that's a crazy stat that it goes back that far to American Thanksgiving, that if you're not in the playoffs then you've got a 10 or 12% chance of making it.
Yeah, it is wild, isn't it? Because
It's wild.
yeah, you can get in on such a roll that, and we obviously saw what the St. Louis Blues were able to do. When they won their cup back in 2019 was pretty absolutely spectacular of their run. But it's very rare because the game is so good now. There's so many great players. The parity is so good. You really can't rely on going through big runs like that because you can lose to any team at any time. There's not one team in the National Hockey League that you can literally go into and have a layup win. Not even Chicago, not even Columbus, not even anybody. It is amazing. And when you fall behind like this early in the season, you spend so much more time and effort trying to chase back in that even if you do get to the playoffs, it's grueling. I mean, you don't have any days off. It's
You're
tough.
you're absolutely right. It's funny you bring that up because I said this to a buddy of mine last night. I said, "Do you know why betting on hockey is so difficult?" And I know every sport's difficult, but the Flyers are in Boston last night. The Flyers are not good this year, and they shut out the Boston Bruins at home, 2-0. The Kings are in San Jose. San Jose is terrible, right? They're terrible, and they win. The Sharks win 4-2. Those were two games you'd probably say, I'm going to put $50 down and take Boston and LA, and you just never know. You never
No.
know in this league, right?
And also, when you're betting and you're betting the +1.5 or the -1.5, that especially the +1.5, that empty net goal
Yeah,
becomes, you go betting the over under and you bet under and that empty net goal goes in, it's a killer. That empty net goal is what it's the decider in terms of your whether you should be betting on the National Hockey League or not. There's no question. But the goals are going in. They're going in bushelsfuls, and it's kind of a interesting leader in the top of the pack to start the first 10 games of the season. And Nico Hischier out of New Jersey. Um, wow, is he on fire right now? Cole Caulfield, who is an awesome sniper, a
he's a
great shooter,
sniper, right?
super sniper. The two are tied at top of the league at 9. I mean, that's an amazing start for these two kids starting this season. I mean, they're almost on 60 goal pace, 70 goal paces.
Kyle Connor.
Kyle Connor again, and again, we talked about him just not getting any attention, right? As one of the stars, one of the stars of the league. But is Nico Hischier? Um, is he a goal scorer? I know he's scoring goals, but I think he's probably known more as maybe more utility forward, a centerman, a very good defensive line,
He
dependable center.
he's a great player, and not to take anything away from Lindy's coaching in when he was with Jersey, but I think under the new regime with Kyle Dubas, it
Mm-hmm.
might be a little bit more offense oriented, and so maybe they're getting that freedom that they maybe didn't have with a prior coach that Dubas is now giving them. So what, this Jersey team. They've got a great team. They're atop of the Metropolitan Division. They got great goaltending. They've got great depth in that lineup. When you think of the Hughes, Jasper Bratt,
Mm-hmm.
Timo Meyer, this is a good hockey club. So it's fun to see. You're talking about goal scorers. We got to talk about Ovi. Ovi potted 2 last night, and neither one of them were empty net goals. So
No,
okay,
no, you actually brought back some of the vintage Ovi that we're
right.
used to, right? Just the way he can fire that puck, man, and the consistency that this guy scores goals over his career. I have made it publicly, and I've said it on this podcast many times. He's the best goal scorer I've ever seen. Now, people can say, yeah, well, Mario was the best goal scorer, Gretz was the best goal scorer, Mike Bossy, or you can say all this stuff, Brett Hall, but um, to see what Ovi has been able to do over his career in terms of 50 goals, 49 goals, 45 goals, 50 goals, he has been the model of consistency as goals go
It's
per
unbelievable.
year, per year.
It's unbelievable. He truly. You might be right. He may be the purest goal scorer of all time. It's incredible. He only needs 38, 37 to tie, 38 to pass Wayne. I think the end of last year we were wondering if he would do it. Would it take 2 or 3 more years? I don't think he'll do it this year. I don't think he's going to be a 40 plus 40 goal scorer, but you never know. But I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that he breaks it next year.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you because he's his consistency right now is not there. He does get hot.
Yeah,
Last year it didn't look like he was going to score 20, not even 15 at one point, and all of a sudden he rattled off like 15 in the last 20, and just got red hot. And that's what Ovi can do because obviously this power play, and he is going to be on the ice for every single empty net at the end of every game. So winning hockey games for Washington is going to be very important for Ovi in terms of getting that. But man, the guy can absolutely shoot the puck, but it's he'll go 4, 5, 6 games without scoring a goal. Then he'll score 2 or 3.
yeah.
Then he'll go 4, 5, or 6 games again without scoring a goal. Then they'll score 3 in the next 4. Right? Then he breaks. I just don't think that's the recipe for getting it done this year. I mean, yes, next year he's 39 now. He'll be 40 next year.
Yeah,
Uh, well within in his realm and in his range of doing that. I didn't think he was going to do it, but now, just
you didn't, eh?
no, I didn't think he was going to do it. No, especially last year. When he was going through his slow spell last year, but watching and seeing him and how he's moving on the ice, and he still has some gusto, man. He still looks good for 39, man. He's rolling along. He's one of those freak of nature guys. Obviously, he's a bull. he's got an ass like a dump truck. I mean, the
You know
kid
what?
is just,
You think
you know,
about it, he has not had, knock on wood, he has not had many injuries throughout his career.
no,
And this isn't a guy that plays on the perimeter. Like he's in there, he throws the weight around, he's
yeah,
physical. He's built like a brick shithouse is what he is.
yeah, he really is. That's actually good. That's a good description of Ovi. He is a brick shit house. Um, very solid. I remember seeing him in Tampa one year. We were down there. I was doing the television role at that point, and watched Washington come in and saw them at a restaurant. And Ovi walked into the restaurant, and I swear to God, his legs are bigger than a horse.
I
I
know.
mean, literally his thighs are as big as my upper body. You know, now, not my upper body back then, but my upper body now, which is a little bit bigger than it was before. Um, but just absolutely just strung out and built like a, you know,
Yeah. No,
and he impresses me every time. Every time he fires one of those pucks top shelf, and the way he releases that puck, and for a guy who doesn't move very much on the power play, and every
right.
single person is trying to get him that puck. There's It's going to be a very very interesting and exciting game when he has one goal to tie and then one goal to win. I'm sure it's going to be the most watched team around the world to
Well,
watch that.
Gretz will be there. He'll be there to congratulate him and
Well, the
offer.
way it's going, Gretz is going to have to probably get get a train of tickets because it might take him 3 or 4 or 5, 6 games before he gets it. But I'm sure Gretz will be at everyone, watching everyone because he does want to be there. I'm sure that's how classy Gretzky is. He
Uh,
wants to be there to pass that torch.
Listen, we got to talk about one of the, if not the best player in the National Hockey League. He's out 2 to 3 weeks in a freak injury. I don't even know. You and I were kind of talking about it off air, what we think it is, but Connor McDavid, Connor McDavid's out 2 to 3 weeks, and he got tripped up at the blue line in Columbus,
So
and
weird.
out 2 to 3 weeks.
It's so strange. I don't even know what happened. He got the stick caught in him, and just a little tip, and he went down. I think it looks like he hurt his ankle or whatever, but let's just hope he gets back and gets back okay, and soon, because Edmonton cannot afford to have him out. They have already started out with a real crappy year, and having him out does not help that team. But we have our guest that is waiting online, so we are going to bring on one of my favorite people of all time. Not just players, but one of my favorite people of all time. And after you listen to our good friend Mark Recchi speak, I think everybody here will understand why Mark Recchi is one of my favorite people of all time. Um, but he might. There he is. There's my boy. There
What's
he
up?
is. What's up, Rex? See what I mean? That's exactly why he's one of the greatest guys of all time. You see the smile on his face, Tim? You see how he lights up? You see how he just brightens up a room? That's Mark Recchi. Mark, what's up? What's up, Rex? I love you, man.
Much, buddy. How you guys doing?
Thanks for coming on with us, man. How was lunch?
It was good. Yeah, it was good. Just catching up with an old friend. So
That a boy. That a boy.
yeah.
JR, before we start, Rex, first of all, thank you for coming on. But I have one question I want to read off to our listeners. Mark Recchi, 5'10", 185, drafted in the fourth round. Games played 1652, 1,533 points, 577 goals, 956 points, 1,000 PIMs, 3 Stanley Cups as a player, 2 as a coach. How did who the hell were the guys taken in the first 3 rounds that the scouts missed you and took you in the fourth round? Jayer and I talked about it.
I was one of them. I was one of the guys that took one of the spots.
Yeah, you did okay though, didn't you?
Yeah, we did okay. But again, we talked. Remember, we talked, Tim, about
We
the
did.
first ten picks of that year and how many
Unbelievable.
goals were scored.
Yeah.
This gentleman right here was in the fourth round,
That's unbelievable.
and he scored 577 goals. I mean, Rex, seriously, how did you do it? Honest to God, like what was it about your game you think that made you so successful?
Well, I found wine early in my career.
Yes, we
No,
both know.
honestly, JR, like, you're not the biggest guy either, and we played a very similar style, and we weren't afraid to go to the net. We weren't afraid to get ugly to score goals, and we wanted to do it any way we could, and we could score from the outside, but if you probably look at a lot of our goals that we scored over our career, there everything was inside, and we were trying to find ways to score and help the team as best we can.
You know what's amazing, Rex, is that I obviously I knew a lot about you and your great career in that, but I didn't know you were I was doing some research the other day. You were the oldest player to score in the Stanley Cup final at 43 years old. How did you keep your body that healthy at 43 to play? Like, not a lot of guys play in their 40s.
Yeah, you know what? Obviously, I stayed pretty healthy through my career, which was a big part of it. Fitness was a big. I mean, I really focused on. I figured out kind of late 20s. I kind of figured out what I really needed to do to be really fit every year, and what I needed for me to be successful, and I just kept that going for a long time. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, it got harder every summer.
Right.
uh, to do that, especially if you went a little bit ways in the playoffs, and then you just had that, you didn't have that downtime that you needed, maybe, because it's nice to have that when you can build everything back up over the course of the summer that's been broken down through the course of the season, and you try and maintain during the season, but it's hard. It's not so easy. So
No.
I was very fortunate, and then I just kept plugging away, and that last year, the last finals, I can honestly say I wasn't a third round. I was kind of a non-factor, and then obviously got to the finals and kind of got rejuvenated, and I should have been rejuvenated in the semis too, but it was taking its toll on a 43-year-old. But I was very
Amazing.
fortunate to find the energy to really, you know, uh, kind of help the team out in the finals, which was obviously the most important part.
Yeah, I mean, I know how I felt at 39. I can't even believe. And what a lot of people don't realize is you're 43, Rex. You played 81 games in your last season. I mean,
That's unbelievable.
that is absolutely unbelievable. If you ask somebody like me or Peelsy, we know what it's like in the league and how grueling it is. But at 43 years old, to be able to play that many games was incredible. You played in some great teams too. Obviously, we know about your cups and all that stuff. But is there one team and one specific, I don't know, maybe moment on that team that was probably your most favorite, or something that changed you the most? What do you think? That's a tough question to ask because you played with so many good teams and players. But is there one specific for you?
Well, you know what? I don't know if it's a specific time, but I was very fortunate when I came into the league. Bob Johnson, I had played kind of the year before, but then Brian Trottier and Jolie Mullen came into Pittsburgh, and he sat me between those two, and having those guys, obviously you still have Mario and some great other players. Paul Coffey ended up being there, but when you get in between those two guys and you're around them every day, it just made a difference for me in my career. And then as I got older, I kind of wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be the guy that they were, how great they treated me, and we'd sit around in the stall, and I'd be ready to go out for practice like 20 minutes early, like every young guy, and they're telling stories, but I didn't want to leave because they're telling me stories, and especially Trotz. Joey Mullen was a little quieter, but Trotz was always telling stories and talking, and I'm like, I can't leave. And then Badger Bob would walk by, and I'd be looking, going, "Oh my God, I gotta get those guys." And then he wouldn't care. I mean, Badger did it for a reason, like he put me there for a reason, and it was just like
Wow.
unreal. So,
I know you played with Lindros in Philly. Was that the Legion of Doom year?
no, he was, that was Legion of Doom was Michael Renberg and John Leclerc.
Claire.
We were the Crazy Eights when he first came in.
The Crazy Eights.
Yeah, yeah, we were the Crazy Eights. So yeah.
What was he like, Rex? Because he was just such a beast of a man. Like,
Yeah, no, That's exactly it. I mean, he was a centerman at 6'4", 6'5", 240 pounds, and like that could, stick handle through, in a phone booth, and be physical and fight, and he had everything. It's unfortunate what happened. He never, we never got to see. It would have been great to see 15, 18 years of him. But just incredible talent, and just the size was just, you didn't see a lot of that, especially at center, and that could, play a real physical game as well.
Yeah, and again, going back to some of these years, 92 when we lost to Pittsburgh in the finals, it was unbelievable how many Hall of Famers were on that team. I don't know if you were quite there, if you were still there. Were there in 92, Rex?
No, I got traded
No.
for talk that year.
That's
Actually.
right. You got traded for Taka. I knew it was
Yeah,
something of that nature was,
yeah,
but you played on that team, and you saw, I mean, you saw what power that they had. I mean, Jaromir Jagr. Talk a little bit about Jagr, because obviously Mario gets so much attention. Jagr
yeah.
just retired last year. What was it like playing on the team with him? Obviously having two superstars of that magnitude, and you're a superstar. Ron Francis is a superstar. We can go right on down the list of the stars on that team. But
Yeah.
what was it like having two great players, like which Pittsburgh has always seemed to have, because now they have with Malkin and Crosby. But what was Jagr like?
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was young. Like he was 18 and 19 when I was with him, or part of his 19-year-old, and he was just a raw young man who had talent coming out of the wazoo. I mean, it was incredible, the talent he had, and he had an incredible work ethic. You know, from the time he was 18 to the following summer, his leg strength went like double, and it was just like he put the work in, and just his skill level, and his commitment to being a great player was fun to watch. And then obviously he just Mario, they just kind of took off, the two of them, when he he's you had two MVPs on one team, that could have won it any you know either one of them could have won it each year, and it was incredible when you have that. And again, he was a big guy too. I
Yeah.
mean, he's a big guy. He's a big,
How
thick.
was that? How was that camaraderie? Like, how was that relationship when you have two guys of that magnitude? And I know Mario is obviously older, and Jagr is the young buck, but still, the star power of that magnitude on the same team can sometimes get a little tense. No,
Yeah, no, that Mario's such a classy guy and such a great guy.
fast. Yeah,
That never, he wants everybody to do great, and he just wants the team to be great. I mean, he was very fortunate. He won a couple in a row there. They could have won a third one. That was probably their best team. But like you said, the Eagles, everybody put their egos aside anyways, because you had Brian Trottier, Joey Mullen, Larry Murphy was in the Hall of Fame, Tom Barrasso was in the Hall of Fame. I'm going to miss them. I mean, Paul Coffey. You just go down the list. Ronnie Francis, Kevin Stevens going in the USA Hall of Fame. I mean, you
yeah.
just look at the list of guys. It was incredible what we had, and the guys that you just put it aside. We just had a great group of guys. We had fun together. We drank a lot of beer together and enjoyed playing the game.
So Rex, you grew up in Kamloops and you played for your hometown Kamloops Blazers. I don't think anybody would say you were the Connor McDavid or Nathan McKinnon of skating, but obviously your intelligence and your smarts um, got you to where, obviously eventually to the Hall of Fame. What was it that, and I want to pick your brain so I can pass it on to Bronson, but what were the things, like, for example, your son, Brendan, who I got to meet in Detroit a few weeks ago, he's the same year as Bronson. What are some of the things you're telling him to work on?
Well, right now I'm telling him that, skating's a big part right now. And I'm kind of he's at a point now. He's 12 years old now. I really haven't pushed him. I've just kind of let him play. Um, I kind of haven't gone over and above like the skill stuff right now and everything with him getting the things. And that, I think right now he's starting to develop. Now is the time for me to do it. So I've just been talking to him about, the skating, the edge work. Um, we were talking to him yesterday about shooting in stride.
Yeah.
He had a skills guy yesterday, so we were kind of showing him. how to shoot and stride. Don't base yourself in, it can, just little things like that. Right now, I'm kind of teaching them, puck battles, just teaching them, what's the difference between, a soft play, hard play, good play, like, just things like that. And I'm just trying to help him get through it. He loves the game and he's really smart. So, he picks it up real quick. And, that's what I'm hoping in the next 3, 4 years he develops in that. Because my oldest son was, he was probably ahead of him at this time. And he ended up playing D1 college and doing a good job. So, hoping maybe along that same path.
Yeah, I watched him the other day when you guys were in the semifinals. I watched him for a period and a half, and I could tell he thinks the game. Um, the best part, JR, when you're older and you're retired and you have kids later in life is you run into guys, whether it be Hal Gill on the road, Marty Erat, Jamal Mayers, different guys that you referee, and now your kids are playing, and
Yeah.
it's the best. And Rex, there is nothing better than watching your kid. I know you won Stanley Cups and all that and all the personal achievements you have, but is there anything greater than sitting there and coaching your kid and watching them play?
No, it's unreal. I love it, and I actually enjoy this part about coaching more than coaching in the NHL. It's just it's really rewarding for these being with these young guys and getting out in practice and talking to them and helping them with things and just to work with them. It's we got a video session tonight and you
Yeah.
know talk a little power play tonight. So I'm not sure the best guy for that, but yeah, we're
Yeah,
gonna
sure.
talk a little
The-
power play and
you were the king of power play specialist, Rex. There's no question about that. And talk about that because you talk about coaching your son. You coach in the National Hockey League. You coached these kids that are playing today. It's obviously a different game. It's a different style. It's a different attitude. It's a different mentality. What were your visions or your opinions on being around this generation right now, both personally, personality, uh, their their preparation, obviously their talent. You were around it. You got to see it firsthand. Give us your thoughts of the game today and the player of today.
Yeah, well, you know what, it is a different. I'm fortunate. I have kids that were, a lot of these kids is age now, so obviously knowing how to handle them, how to communicate with them, how to work with them is extremely important. And it's definitely different. You got to be less confrontational. You got to really work with them, really talk to them. I was very fortunate in Pittsburgh. You have guys like Gintz, O'Brien, Ross. You have a group of guys like that in Pittsburgh with great leaders like Sid. And I was very when I was in New Jersey, I absolutely loved coaching Jack Hughes.
Hmm.
This kid he just wanted to get better, and it was so much fun for me. Like every day he wanted to sit and talk, and we'd sit on the ice or just drill pucks or whatever. And he wanted to be a player and wanted to get there and wanted to understand about winning, and that was so much fun for me. And I just really thoroughly enjoyed that part of it. And we had some other great guys, Zaka and Nico Hischier obviously as well, Jesper Bratt, but Jack and I just thought he went above and beyond how he wanted to get better. So it was kind of neat for me to see that.
Hey, Rex, we were talking before you came on about JR's having some computer problems. We were talking before.
Dude, it's terrible. This is what
We were
happens when you that's this is what happens when you have to do things on the road. You have to do makeshift studios.
You're killing it. We were talking before, like for example, the Four Nations Cup that's coming on. They're saying that the Canadian goalies are going to be probably Bennington, Montembeault, and I forget the third. And I see Montembeault get blown up for 8 goals last night. And personally, I think Bennington will probably be the starter. But I'm looking around the league because last night there was a couple 8 spots put up in a couple of the games. Ottawa put 8 up. I think Seattle did. I don't see the when you guys played Brodeur, Belfort, Cujo, Hasek, like you could go down the list. There was 10 in the league that were studs. Do you think the goaltending's at the level that it was back in the early 2000s?
Yeah, I really don't think so. I agree with you there. I think there was there was true number ones back. Like now, there's 1A and 1B.
Right.
There's just there's only a few guys that are really like true guys, and I mean, back then they played 60 to 70 games.
I think
Now
I think
it's
Brodeur played 75 or 78 one year.
yeah, now it's we got 50, 52 games. The travels way easier now than it was when we back then. I mean, when those guys were playing, because we were flying commercial.
Right.
We were flying commercial. Now they get the charter, they get in, they get their rest, and which is great. But it's such a different ball game now in terms of that for the goalies, and it is going to be interesting to see the goaltending for Canada. I would agree. It seems like Binnington's the guy, but I've Connor Ingram in Utah,
Uh-huh.
a great young goalie as well. That if he can get off to a real good start here, he's been okay. But you got some guys like that, some new blood along the way here. But that's the one thing. Canadian goaltending, it seems to be a little bit of a lack of it, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Four Nations for sure.
Yeah, we had this conversation last week about goaltending, and I agree with you. I think we have a couple of really good goaltenders in the league, but they're not as prevalent as they were back in the '90s. And obviously, you and I and PLZ, we're going to be more positive to the '90s because that's when we're going to like our generation better. But you had Shesterkin, who just said no to an $11 million contract. What's your thoughts about goaltending and salaries and goaltending? We saw Draisaitl making 14.5. We said last week goaltender is arguably the most important position, but yet a lot of people, PLZ being one of them, saying you can't pay a goaltender $11 million. What's your take?
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, everything's salaries are going up right now, and it's gone that way with Draisaitl, and it's obviously it's going to go that way with some other people, the Matthews deals and stuff like that. So if he's your best player in your team, but the thing about it is they play 50 games. So it's like how much money can you put into goaltending, even though it's extremely important.
That's a valid point.
There has to be like you need a backup as well, and you need a good one because they play 25, 30 games. They're not playing 10 games like they did back in the day. So you kind of have to really manage that on the cap, especially with the cap world. You have to manage it, and it's interesting. That's they're going to have. I don't know who they have coming up, the New York Rangers, in terms of contracts, but I know they got some pretty good ones already, and they got some younger players that are going to have to get paid and are getting paid. Going to get paid, and so it's always interesting, to manage that. And like I said, like 50 games they're starting, 55. And then obviously the playoffs is the key where they start every night no matter what. But that's it's a big ticket to when you have to have another one as well. So you're looking at probably 13, 14 million dollars in goaltending. So that he better be a good one.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think
It's a great
11.
point.
He turned down 11, so he wants obviously probably 12. And I just think it's too much to pay a goaltender. And I said to Jair a couple weeks ago, we saw Kenny Holland with the Detroit Red Wings when they won a couple cups. He had Osgood. I think it was Vernon. He didn't. And both great goaltenders, but Kenny's philosophy was, I don't need a Marty Brodeur. I'm going to surround this goaltender with a good enough defense and a good enough team, and he wouldn't pay goaltenders that much money. So it'll be interesting to see. I do want to ask you about the fighting in the game. We saw Dylan McIlraith with Washington and Rempe last night, and I feel kind of bad for Rempe. He's the kid just wants to play hockey. He got sent down. They brought him up just for that one game against Washington last night, and the kid from that. Well, he's not a kid. He's a veteran.
He's 32 years old. Yeah.
He's been around a long time, and he's paid his dues in the American League. Do you think that there's still a place in the game for fighting?
Oh, there's definitely still a game. I think you still have to have it, in the game, and I know there's people that say that, it should be right out of it, but, you know, I think you need a little bit of it to police the game still. Um, you can get guys running around. If you watch college hockey, or there's no fighting, and it's crazy. They just run around like crazy, and there's scrums all the time, and there's things like that. That doesn't happen as much in NHL because you still have to be accountable for what you're doing. At times, it's not even close to what it was way back when. Like, you don't really have to fight now. There's probably players that start, they'll never have to have a fight in the NHL,
Right.
which is fine. But you know, JR, no, we had to hold our own. We had to, get in the odd scrap, and I always thought, well, I'll scrap somebody, and then I figure, hey, the guys, then I'll have a little bit of respect, and maybe those guys that are maybe a little smaller than me, which weren't a lot of them, like, I can chase them around, and
Mhm.
maybe try and intimidate them, and like, because JR didn't get intimidated, I didn't get intimidated, but I mean, if Joey Coach was looking at me, I mean, I'd be scared to death. I mean,
Yeah.
but I would
Oh yeah.
I would have grappled onto him as tight as I could. So
You know what bugs me now, Rex, is when I see Trouba last week and Gudis throw great clean checks and immediately they've got to fight somebody. It pisses me off. It's like these guys that throw a nice, clean, hard hit, and all of a sudden they got to look around because someone's coming at them. Like, we can't take, as you know, and JR knows, we can't take the physicality out of our game.
yeah, no, and it is true. Like, and like I said, we're dating ourselves, but back in the day, we didn't have to. Like, if you made a good hit, you didn't fight. You didn't have to fight. Everybody, like, wow, that was a good one. I think the bench
Mhm.
you'd come to the bench and you'd say, you got robbed.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'd be like, we didn't want to see anybody get hurt, but we were like, well, it was a clean hit. What are you going to do? Like, that's,
Right.
31, things were going to get taken care of, but
Yeah.
we knew the difference. Now it's just automatic. Like, I mean, that was a really good hit. Like, he actually even let up. The Gudis one let up.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He
It's
even let
almost
up
like
a little bit.
it's almost like this is the way that these kids show that they're loyal to the team,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah,
just play hard every night.
yeah,
Show up every night. Be that hard player to play against. Be that guy that that does the important thing to save a game, block a shot, finish a check. All the little things that we always talk about. Play physical. You don't have to go fight somebody every time something happens. I think it's a false honor sort of thing to stick up for your teammate like that. If you want to stick up for your teammate, show up every night.
yeah.
Do your job every night. Is what's Mark Recchi's what's his favorite moment? What's your favorite moment? And I mean hockey wise, not life wise, but just in hockey. There's got to be a favorite moment that was like you think about still today.
Well, my first game obviously was a special moment. I was in Toronto. It was the old Maple Leaf Garden. I got called up. I had a mohawk for being, my rookie initiation down in Muskegon, and so I had a nice crooked mohawk going into my first NHL game. So I mean, obviously that was a special one, and um, you know, winning your first cup is incredible. I was very fortunate with that, and just those memories you just never forget, and Jerry, the bonds and the relationships you build over the years. I mean, when we run into each other and we get a chance to see each other, it's like we've been spending every day together. Like we never miss a beat. And those
Never miss a beat.
times, as like PLZ and JR, those to me, like just those lifelong friendships you have, and I just never forget that about being with all my teammates, and I'm going back to Boston to play in the Flyer Warriors game. We get a lot of the 2011 team together that won, and I can't wait for that. We're on a text right now, and you don't forget that. And I'm still on a mass text from 2011 team, and we still
That's
text all the time together. So
That's
it's
awesome.
It's a bond. It's a bond that you'll never lose.
no, never. I mean, we'll still be. I mean, I'm a lot older than those guys, but I'll be 70 and they'll be whatever 45, 50. I'll still be texting. I don't know, new technology, I might not be able to handle at that point.
You know what, Rex? Those warrior programs are phenomenal. I participate in the ones here in St. Louis with the Blues Warriors, and the Philly Warriors actually sent me a hoodie. I've worn it on our show. And you want to bring yourself, if you're having a bad day or you think your life sucks for whatever reason, you hang around these guys for a couple hours. These veterans that served our country and gave everything. I was told JR a story once. It was Christmas Eve morning, and Rob Ramage asked me to come out with the Blues Warriors, and I'm sitting on the bench with this guy, Tim Taylor's his name, and I'm like, Timmy, you're like a really good player. And he goes, not bad. And he pulls off his glove, and he's got like a stump for a hand because he lost it in Fallujah in a bomb. And I left that rink driving home on Christmas morning. I go, this could not have been a better way to start my Christmas, because it really puts everything into perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sure does, and it's incredible. Like those programs now, like you know what, they help us as much as we help them.
Right.
Say that. I mean, being around them, and it's just incredible how they are, and they love life. And, hockey. A lot of guys. I know it's really helped a lot of guys. It's just given them a little bit more purpose when they get back, come over, and like you said, a lot of them unfortunately have have been shot or lost limbs, or something's gone
Yeah.
on. It's just to be around them, and they're out there having a blast playing hockey, loving it, competing, and it's just so much to be part of around. And then having to drink with them after, and it's always fun.
Where are you these days? Are you still in Pitt,
Yeah,
Rec?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so since you're in Pitt, you've watched a lot of games. They are awful this year. They're one of the last place teams in the league, 48 goals against. It's awful, and it's a shame when you have such superstars on your team, even though they're older. But what's going on there in Pittsburgh, and what are they saying? What's going on in the media? There's got to be a lot of hype going on right there right now.
yeah. I just I've kind of haven't been much involved with the Penguins as I usually am, and I think their goaltending number one hasn't been great.
Right.
Obviously Jari got off to a really tough start. And now he's down trying to find his game, and they got a young kid they're relying on. They've got a couple backups as their goalie. They had the game under control last night. I was watching that last night, and they had the game under control, and the young kid let in just an ugly goal, and it turned the game around. And um, and then I think they're a little slower. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
they're a lot slower. I don't think they added a lot of speed over the summer, and it's just unfortunate, because Sid and Gino and they're just they're still giving whatever they can. Those guys. I mean, they're still their best
Yeah.
players.
Did management go the wrong way a couple of years ago by not starting to rebuild, by just continuing to try to hold on and do what they and just keep some of the players that maybe were fan favorites, but it really hurt the team in terms of where they are right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard because they're obviously I think the new ownership group was in a tough they're in a tough spot by the team, and they're kind of on the decline. What do you do? Do you alienate your fan base right away by making some hard decisions, or do you try and see if you could retool it? And it seems like they tried to retool it, and then when they brought in Kyle Dubas, when they brought him in, I think I'm not sure they needed a guy like Eric Carlson personally. Uh,
I
I'm not sure they needed that type of player. Thought they needed something different, but and then to lose a guy like Jake Gensel, um, Sid's been Sid's left winger for a long time. You don't get a ton for him, and
mm,
that's a big hole. Now, that's a big hole in the top six. You can't fill it. Now you're on. Now you got a guy who's been one of the best players to ever play the game, and doesn't have a whole lot to play with. And last night he had Malkin, and with Crosby. Actually, Malkin playing wing last night, and they were their best players. But it's been it's a tough decision to make, but
mhm.
I think they're going to probably have to make that decision sooner or later because it's
Yeah, it's
obviously
time.
not going the right direction now.
Yeah,
So
it's time.
JR asked me before you came on if I was surprised that Sid resigned, and I said not at all. I said you know him probably better than I do off the ice, and I just don't think it was in his makeup, Rex, to sign with another team.
Yeah, no, he's a loyal person and he's a great person. You know, I just I thought it took a lot longer than I thought it was going to take. Obviously, Sid put a ton of thought into it, like he does everything, and I think obviously felt this was the right decision for him, and to see where this go and see where they can hopefully maybe try and find a way for them to be competitive. You know,
Yeah,
and it would have been nicer 4 or 5 years ago, probably.
Hmm.
Try and
yeah,
make those decisions 4 or 5 years ago. You probably would have been, if you did it right at this time, you probably would have been given Sid another chance at
yeah.
37, 39 years old to be a champion again, because
Well,
because it would have been a number of years ago. That was probably the time to do it. It was
yeah.
probably.
Well, in saying that, Rex, I was having this conversation with Andrew Peters and Craig Rivet on After the Whistle this morning. They made a very good point, and you did say um, that Crosby is a very loyal person. Okay, and it isn't out of the realm of maybe um, very smart planning or conversation. He does get a huge bonus July 1st of next year, where the team's going to have to pay him a good bonus. But one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to just allow Sidney Crosby to leave and not get anything back for him. And it's not out of the question. He's in great shape. The guy can still go, can still roll. He's got a lot left in him. And if this doesn't shape up for the team right now in this year, and they miss the playoffs again this year after the summer's over, I don't think it's out of the question that they'll say, Sidney, okay, where do you want to go? You want to have a chance to win a cup somewhere, and trade him and get something valuable back for him, something that you'll have something, a couple draft picks, a couple something. But it could be what they're thinking. I know it's a long shot, but when you think about it, if you're going to rebuild, how's the best way to rebuild is by getting something back for something very valuable,
Yeah.
and maybe this two year contract allows that to happen. I don't know. It's kind of interesting thoughts.
Well, the number he kept, which is very superstitious, obviously for him, but it's also a number that's realistic for them to move as well. At
Yeah.
some, if it ever came to that, and it's not like it's not a terrible, it's a contract that, hey, if Sid just decided, hey, I want to go, which I have no idea. It doesn't seem like it to me, but if he just said, hey, I want to go, that's not a hard contract to move.
You know, I know JR and I have not argued, but we disagree on this, and I just don't see it happening. I just everything I know about Sid, I just see him retiring a president. But one quick question before we let you go. Uh, Played in Pittsburgh, great fans. Boston, great fans. Philadelphia, great fans. It wasn't it amazing last night watching Fleury and the reaction from the Pittsburgh fans, Rex. Like they love you guys that had success in that city and gave it your all, and the people in Pittsburgh just absolutely love this guy.
Oh, they do, and for good reason. This guy's an incredible person. I mean, you still watch him practice every day. He has so much fun on the ice. It's incredible and it's infectious. Like he's just this great person. He's like this every day. He's just an amazing guy. Got amazing work ethic, and he's got a great family. He's just it's so fun to see, and it's so that was you know obviously it was sucked for the fans last night in terms of them losing, but if because it was Flower, like okay,
Right.
they know it's his last time they're going to see him, and so it was great to see that they did that, and they are great fans, and
Yeah.
in every place you play. And I was
Yeah.
just in JR this past weekend, and I did a little bit of ambassadors, little schmoozing up in the suites and that. I mean, they remember back in our days when and they love it. They're like, oh, we're fans from
Yeah.
the years that we were together, and man, we loved you guys, and it was pretty neat. So any place you go, and they love people that are good people and compete and do the right
Yeah.
things.
Well, we were lucky to play in some good cities, and I was lucky as hell to be your teammate and your friend, Rex. And we can't thank you enough for coming on with us. I know you're a busy guy, but you are the best, and I love you lots. I can't wait to see you again. I hope you're
Yeah.
up at the Hall of Fame in a couple of weeks. If you are,
Yeah,
maybe
I'm working on it, buddy. I'm working on getting up there, so I sure hope to.
awesome.
So,
I love
congrats
you,
again on
buddy.
that.
I love you, buddy.
Yeah,
Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. Tim, you
yeah,
want to say?
no problem. It appears that it's great not yelling at you or you yelling at me. So this is great.
Exactly. Listen, the most important last question is
Yeah,
Brendan and your team playing in Chicago this weekend.
they are. They are. They're there this weekend again. Yeah, my
Okay.
wife's gonna go up for that
Are
one
you
though.
going to be?
No, I'm not gonna be there this weekend. No.
Okay. Well, I'm going
Yeah,
up to Wisconsin, so I'll have to look
yeah,
out. I'll have to look out for the Pittsburgh Pens elite and
yeah.
right over and watch him and see how he's doing. I'll text you.
Abs-
So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Well,
awesome.
I love you, Mark. Thanks again, and all the best. And I hope
Love
to
you
see you in a
guys.
couple
Thanks,
of
man.
weeks. Okay.
thanks,
Okay,
Rex.
buddy. Buddy, that's the man.
He's
What a
the
great
best.
man. What a
Hey,
guy. Absolutely love him. Love him to death. He was amazing teammate, and geez, what a player. Holy shit, could he play?
he's just a good person. Like, listen, I was nobody. I was a ref. And I know you got to get back to work, but very quickly, I walk into this restaurant in Detroit and I'm trying to get my team a table at the restaurant. And I feel this hand on my shoulder and I turn around and he goes, "Hey, Peelsy." I go, "Hey, Rex." And we had a couple beers and just shot the shit. And it was like, just such a nice
Yeah,
person.
he's the best.
I just love him.
Just humble. Played
Um,
for a long time. Played for a long time. 23 years, 24 years. Geez, unbelievable. 24 years he played. Yeah,
652 games,
just
650. That's
unbelievable.
unbelievable. Hey,
It's unbelievable. 24 years. It's ungodly to me. It's just
crazy.
I can't believe it. 23. But anyway, buddy, hey, great job today. Way to get on Rex, and we will see you next week. Thanks to Whiskey in the Wild, thanks to Bet Online and Protecting Net Guards. We will see everybody next Wednesday. We don't know what time because it always seems to be moving around and shifting around, but hope you had a lot of fun. Hope you enjoyed Mark Recchi, and from Tim Peel and myself. This is Snipes and Stripes, over and out.
See you, buddy.